Hi, my name is Curtiss Randolph, and we are at the New Generation Photography Award exhibit at the National Gallery of Canada, and I'll take you on a tour of my work. So today I'll take you on a tour of my series, My Father's Son, which I started in 2017 and completed around 2019. In this series, I bridge a connection between a character that I developed that is a combination of my father's traits and my own shared traits, and was put together to create this character named Gigi Jangles. And he's an amalgamation of the two of us, and this character is putting on a one-man show inside a 1860s Methodist church in Toronto, Ontario. And he's attempting to put on a one-man show, but throughout the process is having a really difficult time because he has a lack of support network, has a hard time asking for help. And this story chronicles the events that transpire, particularly in my dad's life, and they're represented through different notions throughout the story of his successes and failures. In this photo right here, this is retiree soiree. This is a common area for the character Gigi to hang out in. It's a garret in one of the bell towers in the theater, and it's titled Retiree Soiree, that being a room that is full of equipment that's been retired, and he doesn't really have a lot of money, so he continues to pull equipment from this old sort of semi-abandoned junkyard of equipment. And it's a common place for him to be. He's photographed kind of clothed in ropes, reaching up for different equipment, and features a bit of paraphernalia from the Bathurst Street Theatre, the former name of the church. Down below we have Suspended in the Gods, and that's a pretty typical phrasing for when people that work above the stage on a catwalk are kind of controlling the environment, the lighting, any sort of special effects that come from that place. And so in this part of the series, it's after Gigi has endured an injury, so he continues to be on crutches, and he's up on this really sketchy catwalk, lowering down a set of ropes. And at this point, he had just endured an injury, but is still trying to show a certain amount of persistence throughout the process, and won't really stop despite being injured and unable to perform at a proper level that he would have beforehand. These two images come at the end of the series of My Father's Son, the one on top being Collected Histories, and the one below, Tuesday, May 24th, 1955. That date below is my father's birthday. And so the show at the end of the series that's set to be carried out happens on his birthday as a nod to his identity. And the picture on top is the most straightforward collection of histories of my father's personal histories that are laid out on an old TV table with different mentions of his actual history through photographs, through pamphlets. Now, he was a ballet dancer, so we're able to get some paraphernalia from that time period that mentions his different acts that he performed in, photographs meeting the Prime Minister, and then other mentions of myself that were kind of thrown in with 2 cans of corned beef, which is like a favorite food of mine, anything canned, so that I kind of threw myself in there in that way. And on the TV, we have an image of Cab Calloway performing a show. And so it all kind of comes together because the series was originally was brought together by artists such as Cab Calloway, Bojangles. These are entertainers that my father really liked and was an inspiration to himself. And so the series was set during a time period that was more relevant to those types of mid-century or pre-mid-century performers. And that's kind of what made up the heart and essence of the time period that this took place in. Over here we have The Absence of a Catch Bar. We have Negro Poppins and Day. The Absence of a Catch Bar comes at the middle of the series when Gigi sustains a fall, and essentially this photograph, The Absence of a Catch Bar, represents a injury in my father's life where he had suffered a career-ending injury where he had shattered his pelvis. And so from every point forward in the series, Gigi was in crutches throughout the rest of the photographs. And that's kind of how I saw a bit of my father in ways he was never able to fully recover really quickly from the injuries, and they definitely have lasting effects that kind of continued on throughout his career and his life. And so I personified that moment through Gigi falling off a 20-foot ladder on stage while he was setting up some lights, which ladders are dangerous and is a pretty common occurrence in workplace injuries. And then next we have Day Day. Now, this is one of the illusions that Gigi would put on during his shows. There's a number of illusions. It originally was called Tall Boy Illusion, but it was switched to Day Day. Now, Day Day, that word is a name that was originally given to Andre the Giant when he was a teenager. And that was his nickname because he was so tall, such a big figure. And Gigi was definitely inspired by this kind of mystery of a human being. And so he created this illusion which makes him look rather possibly 11 feet tall or so, like a really tall figure. One of his illusions. And the next one, Negro Poppins, is Gigi leaping off the balcony in the Bathurst Street Theater onto a crowd of nobody, but into an array of seats. And this was how he imagined he would enter the stage during one of his performances. This picture specifically is kind of a way for me to see myself in history and try to bridge those gaps where I maybe didn't feel like I was able to see myself in like pop culture during a certain period of time. And so that's why I named it Negro Poppins, as well as made very apparent mentions to Mary Poppins in that era. And so I found that this one originally had a connection also to the Phantom of the Opera, because when I was photographing it, I was able to capture a shadow that was kind of haunting in a similar way. And Gigi is kind of the Phantom of the opera in his own way, because he lives in the theater, he produces work in the theater. Now there's nobody to actually see the show. The show never gets presented. And it's almost like a fictitious reality that he's just living in and continuing to broadcast for the sake of just his own desire to, and maybe ego. People do things for many reasons, but he was pretty proud of being able to create these different illusions and tricks of the show, tricks of theater. You know, within respect to photography, everything is kind of trickery, and I find parallels that way.